Well, our top story, the Sushant Singh Rajput case, which has seen intense speculation, will now be probed by the CBI after the Supreme Court handed over the probe earlier today.
The investigation into Sushant Singh Rajput's death, so far caught between Maharashtra and Bihar police and politics, will now be done only by the CBI, the Supreme Court ordered. The court said, when truth meets sunshine, justice will not prevail on the living alone, but after life's fitful fever, now the departed will also sleep well. Satyamev Jayate. Rajput, a Bollywood star, was found dead at his home 2 months ago. Since then, there's been bitter charges between his family and his ex-partner Riya Chakrabarti, as well as between politicians and governments.
It is a matter of great moment that the Supreme Court has found the FIR filed by Patna Police a lawful exercise.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट में जो ऑब्जर्वेशन है उसमें साफ-साफ ने लिखा है कि मुंबई पुलिस ने जो सुशांत सिंह के केस का जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया उसमें बड़े प्रोफेशनली किया, कोई भी दोष वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन में नहीं है.
The Supreme Court said that unbiased probe will result in justice for the innocents who are targets of vilification campaign. Allegations of political interference against Bihar and Maharashtra has potential of discrediting the probe. Must determine whether unnatural death of Sushant Singh Rajput was a result of any criminal act. The Supreme Court said that there is no wrongdoing by the Mumbai police and that Patna FIR is valid and lawful. Petitioner Riya has no objection for CBI probe. To ensure public confidence and complete justice, the court invoked powers under Article 142.
Armed with the Supreme Court order, CBI's elite special investigation team is all set to proceed ahead with the probe into the unnatural death of actor Sushant Singh Rajput. The agency sources have told NDTV that the agency will be summoning the accused, including Riya Chakrabarti, to join the probe in the coming days.
As Rajput's family welcomed the court order, their lawyer immediately dragged the Disha Salyan case into the probe.
Any FIR is registered today for the death of Disha Salyan, and that FIR, there is a mention that it is linked to Sushant Singh Rajput, then that FIR also will be investigated by the CBI.
However, Bihar's police chief responded to the order by triggering another controversy with his harsh language against Riya Chakrabarti.
बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री पर कमेंट करने की औकात रिया चक्रवर्ती की नहीं है.
However, Chakrabarti in a statement says that truth will remain the same, whichever agency investigates the case. With Arunachal Vaidyanathan and Arvind Gunasekar in Delhi and Saurabh Gupta in Mumbai, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
Well, joining us now, somebody who's been looking very, very closely at all of these developments, Shobha De. Ms. De, thanks very much for being with us tonight. What does it say of us when the Supreme Court says the Mumbai police did no wrong, yet for the sake of public confidence, we need a CBI probe?
What it says is there's a great amount of confusion to start with, a great amount of political interference, and a whole lot of mixed narratives. So people just don't know what to make of this case. I mean, there's so many different agencies involved. And with the narrative changing almost by the minute, it's hard to keep a track of what is important, what is not important, who is sensationalizing which aspect of this case, and for what reason. Because it's not such a clear-cut thing. Suddenly we have this ruling, that ruling, CBI comes in, the Mumbai police are exonerated. Then what on earth have we been doing for all this while? And why is so much public energy invested in this case? Either by now we should know, was it a case of murder, a violent death, or was it a case of suicide? All the key players involved, they've been questioned at length. What has actually been unearthed so far? To my mind, not very much. It's been a case of, in a way, taking citizens, the public, for a ride on a very high-profile case, which has, for whatever reason, captured the imagination not just of citizens in India, but apparently all over the world. There are people who are putting up banners and posters and demanding justice for Sushant Singh Rajput.
So the bottom line here, everyone says that they want justice for Sushant, but at the end of the day, this is, most people or many would say, just a political victory for the BJP and the JDU. The timing ahead of the Bihar elections couldn't be better for them.
Well, you know, from the word go, from the time the controversy started and the lack of faith in the Mumbai police and all those charges against how inept they are and how, you know, they were watching it all up, it was very, very obvious that it was a political game being played. And I think that is such a hideous thing to do. We are dealing with a tragedy. And you're going to play games at this stage because of your own political motivations and your own narrow-minded political games for your election, or to dethrone the Shiv Sena and, you know, assume control of Maharashtra. All of it is something that is not just distasteful, but it's manipulative and really transparently dishonest.
Now, the Director General of Bihar Police said something which has scandalized a lot of people. He said Riya Chakrabarti has no aukaat to question the Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. What do you think this is all about?
Well, he has done it, and people have commented on it. There's been a great amount of comment generated on his aukaat remark. And it's going to backfire because you don't talk about anybody in that manner. No matter what your motivations, no matter who your political bosses are, this is no way to talk about any person, least of all a woman who at the moment is certainly in the eye of the storm, but has not been proven guilty by a long shot.
Now, this is something, Shobha, which you had written. The tragic death of Sushant Singh Rajput has opened a can of worms. The stink it has raised can no longer be ignored. This was long overdue. It is a pity that Bollywood needed a tragedy this large to begin a deep cleansing exercise. I'm raising this now because these words, which you'd written several weeks back, seem to have fallen by the wayside, with the focus moving from Bollywood and its need to introspect to what has become a political game. But this is absolutely important as well. I mean, what this death was sadly a part of at so many levels.
Well, that seems to have been forgotten completely. Everybody is now skipped out of the nepotism debate, and that's become a non-issue. Everybody is now focusing on who's actually going to conduct this investigation and how many new voices are going to be added to it. Everybody wants the headlines, and it seems to be driven much, much more by the motivation to stay in the news no matter what, by making all kinds of claims. The point is, there's something very basic and simple which has not been addressed. Whoever may be charged with whatever, we need a motive. What is the motive? Is it money? Is it something else? Is there a much bigger sinister conspiracy that no one seems to know about right now? There is at the moment no motive, but a whole lot of people who stand accused of all manner of wrongdoing. This is not just making a mockery of the man who has lost his life. It's making a mockery of the entire system. And Bollywood has, of course, stayed out of it now that the attention has shifted from what was a much, much uglier, grislier story. Everybody is now standing back and watching the show. It's like a tamasha. Every day there are new people on parade, new players on parade. And I frankly don't think much is going to come out of any of this. And it's going to be a game that's going to be played till the Bihar elections are over and done with. And if they're going to use a dead person for getting votes, for heaven's sake, you can't sink any lower.
Yeah. So therefore, will there ever be justice for Sushant Singh Rajput, or will this be forgotten, unfortunately, once the elections are over?
I believe it will be something that will be pushed aside. It will have no worth or value for all the politicians playing these games, because it will by then be a dead issue, a dead story that cannot be milked for anybody's benefit. And therefore, Sushant Singh Rajput will become irrelevant, and the case will either linger on and on till the public forgets all about it, as has happened with many other high-profile cases in the past, or there will be someone, I hope, with a conscience who will say, listen, you started something, now see it all the way through. I frankly don't see that happening unless his family members are determined to see it through to the logical conclusion. But then I don't know how vested they are. I don't know who's playing them. Actually, one doesn't know who's playing anybody right now, but everybody seems to be playing someone.
That's the key point over here. And that's sort of being reflected at so many levels. There's the entire issue of Aditya Thackeray, the allegations which have been made against him. On the other hand, there appears to be schisms which exist even between the NCP and the Shiv Sena on this particular issue, with Sharad Pawar saying that, look, perhaps there shouldn't, he has no problem with the CBI probe, and the Shiv Sena calling it all a big conspiracy. So it's bizarre at what level the name calling and the politics are going on in this case.
The tragedy of all this is how everybody has been reduced, all the players and the case itself. It's like a whole sham game that's taking place, whether it's the NCP, the police, the CBI, the Bihar police. It's like theater of the absurd. There is hardly anybody worth anything, worth any sort of a credibility or bringing any gravitas to the case. It's like no one really wants to find out the truth. Everybody wants to exploit the little facts that emerge, or they're not even facts, maybe sometimes figments of someone's imagination, and to run with that just so as they can settle scores with one another, one neta to the other neta, one political party with the other political party. And in the meantime, the case and the tragedy of Sushant Singh Rajput stands suspended, with nobody really bothering to find out the truth, because it doesn't suit anybody to find out what the truth is at all. They only want to use this as a peg to further their own political games and political ambitions. That is the state of things today, whether it's in Maharashtra or in Bihar, and perhaps the rest of India too.
All part of what you call the theatre of the absurd. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Shobha, for joining us and sharing your views on the Sushant Singh Rajput case and what has happened today in court and where it's possibly going to go. Thanks very much indeed.